Miranda Edge, the Ag and Natural Resources Educator in Harrison County. In this video series, we're going to talk about the fit and nutrition of our two mini horses, Jelly and Pickles. In this first video, we're going to talk about the basics of nutrition and exercise and what it's going to take for them to lose a little bit of weight and feel a little bit healthier and able to do the exercise we're asking them to do.
Nutritionists use a body conditioning score to visually analyze what kind of shape an animal is in. Horses are scored on a scale from 1 to 9. Most horses should score between a 5 and a 6 for optimum health. Starting at the low end, a score of 1 means the horse is very emaciated. When the horse is evaluated, we look along the neck, withers, crease, down the back, tail head, across the ribs, and behind the shoulder or at the heart girth. With a score of 1, a horse would have very little muscle and almost no fat. Ribs and the spine would be easily seen. Many horses do not recover from this stage. A horse scoring 2 is emaciated, meaning still thin, but a thin layer of fat may cover parts of the lumbar or back line. The ribs and hips are still very visible. A body condition score of 3 is an improvement to a 2, but with some major fat deficiencies. At this stage, there may be some muscle development, but the horse's body is working very hard to put fat around important parts of their body, like the spine, kidneys, heart, and lungs. At a body condition score of 4, the horse is still considered thin, but is starting to look more fleshy with a covering of fat well over the spine, hips, neck, and withers. As we said before, an ideal condition score would fall between a 5 and a 6. A horse with a body condition score of 5 is moderate and might be considered fit if looking at a racehorse. His ribs might still be visually apparent, but where only fat was laid down, muscling can begin to develop. Excess fat may even start covering the tail head. A body condition score of 6 is also considered fit, but may be a better choice for a mare in foal or a horse that does trail riding or ranch work. On the other side of ideal, a horse can begin to add too much fat. With a body condition score of 7, it may take more effort to feel the ribs on the horse, and a crease may begin to form down the back. At a body condition score of 8, the neck is much thicker, and it's hard to get a saddle to fit like it may have before at a body condition score of a 5 or 6. Finally, we reach the other extreme, a body condition score of 9. This can be just as detrimental as a body condition score of 1. Excess fat makes it harder to move and may cause injury or metabolic diseases similar to diabetes.
This Jelly has a really thick neck. Her throat latch is very thick in comparison to some of the other miniature horses and ponies that you might see. We've got another example of one that's a slightly thinner version. Her neck is very thick and she's got a very tough, thick crest on the top of her neckline. Also, as the biggest part that you can see is that she has a lot of fat, a lot of depth in her barrel. When you press over her rib cage, all you feel is fat. You do not feel ribs whatsoever. The top of her back is very flat, and she has a crease that goes down the middle of her top line rather than seeing a point over the top. When you look at her from the back, she has a divot in her croup where it should be very flat, rounded over the top of her top line. She'll have fat pads along the side of her butt and just some overall extra thickness and fatness in her hips. Pickles is also considered overweight, but maybe not as severely overweight. We would consider her more of a 7.5, 8 on a scale of 9. You can still run your hands over her rib cage and not feel anything but fat. No ribs are felt. But she's starting to thin out a little bit in her neck. That crest is definitely not as hard as what we saw on Jelly. The throat latch is starting to thin a little. She still has a long way to go. These horses need lots of extra exercise by walking first until they can get their heart rate to move up. It's just like a marathon runner. You don't start with sprints, you start by walking and extend your period of walking and then increase your rate over time. So we're going to work with them like they are a marathon runner, not a sprinter. So Jelly and Pickles came to us from another little boy who outgrew them. So my son has a few more years that he can enjoy these girls, and we're going to work to try to keep them happy and healthy for as long as we can. Now when we got them, they were on a very lush pasture and eating happily away as they are today. So you can see the effect it had on their body condition score. So the first thing we're going to do is restrict their diet down to only what they need. So they're going to get a grass hay, and they're going to get a little bit of oats when we have a chance to work them if they need a little bit more energy. But for the most part, they're going to be on a grass hay and a loose mineral to complete their nutrient requirements for their diet. Measuring a horse while you're working on fitness is very important so that you can check to see their progress. These horses are fairly small, so it is easy to maybe take them to your local vet or to find a scale at a farm or at your fairgrounds. However, if you don't have access to that, there's also weight tapes that you can use, and these can give you an estimate. Being an estimate, it may not be absolutely accurate, but you can start with a starting weight and look at how that adjusts and changes over time as you add in your exercise and increase the nutritional quality that you're giving these animals through your regimen. So with these, they give you either kilograms or pounds, and you just put that over their withers and across their heart girth. And it will give you a measurement that you can check. And it says that this horse is about 350 pounds right now. So our starting point is going to be around 350 pounds. We will double check and measure this animal every month or so to see the progress as she is reducing her size and becoming more fit.
Each animal is different and will need a different plan to reach a healthy weight for their intended purpose. In our next video, we'll go into more depth on ways horses are used and how that affects their nutritional needs. For now, let's talk about basic nutrition and exercise needs. As we said earlier, every animal needs water, vitamins, minerals, proteins, carbohydrates, and even fat to survive and function. Horses need these ingredients continuously throughout the day, so we call them grazers. They may graze on fresh grass in a pasture, dried hay in a stall, or even a little grain. All of these feed items hold ingredients that will give them the nutrients they need every day. Pickles and Jelly get a low-protein grass hay and a low-carb grain in the form of oats to add a little energy as needed for exercise. They always have water and mineral available in their stall. Their exercise may not be consistently the same, but we try to do something every day, even if it's a walk around the yard. At least once a week, we hitch them to a wagon and work on muscle building and stamina. In a little over a month, both Jelly and Pickles have started to lose weight and become more active. You might not see much of a change physically, but we have definitely noticed a change in their stamina. We will continue regular exercise and a healthy diet to reach the ideal body condition score somewhere between 5 and 6. These girls will also be cared for by a farrier to keep their hooves trimmed and checked over by a veterinarian and dentist to make sure they are staying healthy and continue to improve in stamina and strength. Our goal is slow and steady improvements so as to reduce our chances of exercise-related injuries. Just like any other athlete, we will keep an eye on their body and discomforts. Keeping them healthy will allow us to use them for years to come. In part 2 of our video case studies, we'll discuss why different horses need different nutrient requirements and how exercise might also affect the horse's requirements. Until next time.